So tell me a little bit about your journey in terms of have you always been interested in things that are a bit alternative? How did you get into homeopathy? How did you get trained? What's your story?
Okay. My mother did used to use remedies, but very sporadically, and I don't think had any real understanding of what it was. She just used it because it worked, basically. And I remember when I was a teenager, I had a little period of time where I had a lot of issues with wind and probably hormonal looking back on it. And she sent me off to Boots because you used to get remedies in Boots in those days. And I used a remedy called Carbo Veg, and it worked really well. But again, I didn't really, it was just, I didn't even know what homeopathy was. It was just something you got from the chemist, and that was it. I didn't question it. So there was a kind of awareness that there was some other form of medicine, but that was it really. And then when I had my daughter, who's my oldest, I just had a kind of innate instinct that I just didn't want to be giving her pharmaceuticals. I just didn't want to be pumping her full of stuff. So I became a little bit more interested at that time. And at that time, I was working in the advertising industry.
Oh.
And yeah, very different to what I'm doing now. So I worked for an agency in London, international agency, and I ran the television production department. And it was a very high-powered job. I was responsible for about 40 people, very stressful, totally in my masculine, really, you know, really not very pleasant to live with, actually. Very bossy and opinionated, and I needed to delegate a lot. So I couldn't get out of it when I came home. So yeah, it wasn't a brilliant time really for us as a family, but I just needed to be in that mode in order to get all the stuff done. And my mother was very ill at the time as well. Anyway, cut a long story short, I became chronically ill with an immune disorder and I was basically told, well, that's it. Here's a drug, and when it didn't really do much for me, kept going back to different consultants and just saying there must be something. I just feel I could barely get out of bed. Had to stop working at that point, so I got leave. But I still had, a young child and everything else to contend with. And to be told, well, that's it, there's nothing else you can do. Fortunately for me, my parents brought me up not to accept that and to keep digging and keep asking for more. And eventually a friend said to me, well, why don't you go and see my homeopath? You've got nothing to lose. I was kind of aware of it, but I didn't really know what it was. And I was highly skeptical, actually, because I thought, well, if I've been to all these consultants and they're saying there's nothing they can do, what's anyone else going to do? And the first consultation, going back to what we said earlier, it was really moving, number one, to actually have someone listen to me for an hour and a half, to actually ask me all sorts of questions about me and what was really going on for me, because no one had ever asked, what kind of life are you leading? And, you know, are you stressed? And what do you mean you're looking after a baby and you're the sole breadwinner and you're, looking after your mother who is sliding into dementia and, all of that. Um, and I was then given a prescription for a remedy, several remedies, I think. And I immediately started to feel a bit better in that my energy picked up. And I could start doing things that I hadn't been able to do for a long time. And it basically took I think it was about 6 months to nearly a year of regular, monthly visits. And I was absolutely fully back to, beyond better than I was before. And I started to also realize how what I had chosen to do and what I was choosing to do with my life was actually contributing to me becoming that ill. So I started to make changes and make better choices for myself, and for my children, actually. By then, had I had another baby? No, I think I was thinking about having another baby. That's right. Um, and yeah, again, I was told, oh, it'll take you a long time. If you do get pregnant again, it will take you a long time. And it didn't. And I had another child. And I was having such great results for myself and for my kids as well, because I was dabbed by then, I was understood enough to be able to say, well, my daughter has a fever, rather than give her Calpol. I don't even know if Calpol was around then, but similar. Um, I would give her a remedy instead, and it worked. So I was kind of finding things out for myself and amazing myself. And then I thought, what, I really want to go and find out more about this. I want to understand it myself better, and see, where, and it's also complete, it was the antithesis of everything I was doing for a living. And I just wanted to do something that was just for me, and yeah, was just something completely different. Didn't have any desire to change careers or, become a practitioner or anything. I was just doing it out of interest. And the first weekend, I was completely hooked, and just thought, no, this is what I'm meant to do. This is what I want to do, and this is what lights me up. So I did a 4-year practitioner training course whilst still running the TV department in the agency, and children and my mother and all sorts of things. It was really hard, but also very rewarding.
Mhm.
Um, so, and it led me to discover all sorts of other things as well that I didn't know existed. Because once you start opening your mind to possibilities, all sorts of things come in that just weren't on your radar before. And there was just so much I was discovering, not only about health, but how things are run, and just looking at things from a different perspective, and understanding people much better.
Mm.
I love listening to people's stories. It's still just, I'm just amazed at the kind of things that we all are able to navigate in our own ways, and being able to support particularly women through those journeys is, it gives me great pleasure still. And I'm still learning. I still, what I love about it is that I'm constantly learning and opening and expanding. Um, so yeah, that's how I came to it.